Hey there, welcome to the Breakthrough Creative. I am your host, John McDavitt, and this is the place where we talk about the business of art and the art of business. My guest today fits right into the October schedule. My guest is Kim Witte, who is a special effects makeup artist, body painter, designer, prop maker, costume maker, a painter, and has a new cookbook out of which she is the author and the cook, and she has her own online makeup course. Kim was one of my first guests on the Breakthrough Creative, and we met at SEA, a conference in Chicago, just before COVID struck. And the conference is for artists who are entrepreneurs and want to run their own business. And it's the full name from SEA is Self-Employment in the Arts. And you can look that up as well if you're interested in learning more about that organization, selfemploymentinthearts.com. We are going to be having our first conference since before COVID at the end of October here in Chicago, and that will take place on October 28th, 29th, and 30th. Look it up, and it will be good to see you there. I will be there. Kim Witte will be there. And anyway, that's where Kim and I met, and we just kept up over the years now, and I've been following her career, and she is doing some amazing new things, and she's going to catch us up just on some of the challenges she's faced over the last couple of years and how she pivoted and made it work for her. So here we go, on to the conversation. Cheers. So I'm here with my friend Kim Witte, and Kim was my guest early on. I want to say you were episode 4 and 5. You were somewhere in there.
Yeah, it was definitely one of the first 10 episodes, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was early, and you actually encouraged me to edit the video and then to release on YouTube. So thank you for that, my friend.
I got you.
And so Kim and I were just talking for a little bit before we started recording, and it's been about 2.5 years since we met at C Conference, which is Self-Employment in the Arts, which is a conference that we're actually going to be at again in a couple of months here.
Super
Than
excited.
A couple of months, right?
Just a month. It's the end of October.
Yeah, and you know, we both share a background in makeup and a love for body art and characters, and we knew that we were going to be meeting at the conference, and we just hit it off. So we've kept up with each other over the past couple of years, and it's been fun to watch you, Kim, and what you're doing and the things that you're doing. So maybe getting into the episode, why don't you remind us who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I'm Kim Witte. I'm a professional makeup artist and just an artist in general. I mainly specialize in body paint, mainly illusions and fur, but I'm also super into acrylic painting, do lots of commissions, lots of my own work. I have mainly been painting dogs. And I run a company called Witte Artistry, and I have been since 2015.
Awesome. And you've had some adventures over the last couple of years. What have you been up to? I can think of one thing you've been up to that I don't know if you're going to bring up or not. You might, but I was thinking of the makeup show you filmed.
I was just going to mention that. Yeah.
Sorry, I jumped the gun. You go ahead.
Oh, you're totally good. So I've been up to a lot of things. So year one was mainly working on special effects makeup, along with I had an amazing and incredible opportunity and got flown to LA. I was gonna say Las Vegas, to LA to film a makeup competition show called Fake Up. So I got to work directly with the producers of Face Off and Snapchat to compete in a makeup show. And that was a totally new experience for me. It was the first time I ever went anywhere on a plane alone, or anywhere traveling alone for that matter. First time working on a TV show, first time in LA. And then I got to meet a bunch of my friends from Instagram, kind of. This was literally right when COVID hit. So it was a really awkward, clunky, you're locked in your room kind of thing. But I got to text with the people. So that was fun. But it was a big learning experience. And I ended up with a verified Snapchat account, which I didn't think would be a big deal, but it ended up completely changing my life. All social media apps have a verification, but Snapchat's is special. Snapchat is only awarded to people that Snapchat picks out and chooses and works with. Whereas all the other platforms, it's usually based on your general popularity in societal media. And you have access to a completely new platform that nobody else has. So I have global reach. And I can have a global audience and be on the explore page, which is just like the coolest, weirdest thing. And I did that and it was amazing. And I was going through lots of anxiety and lots of depression and just really struggling internally during that time. And I just didn't want to make makeup anymore. I was just not into it. I kept forcing myself to do it because I'm like, this is something that I love. I don't understand why this isn't working. And I decided that I needed a change. So I stopped doing YouTube completely because it was eating up 80% of my time and it was making me zero money. Whereas TikTok and Instagram, I was actually getting income from while also enjoying it. I really enjoyed doing my TikTok videos and cosplay videos and acting and stuff. So I made like a huge change. I stopped doing YouTube and I decided to stop doing everything so I could just like heal and exercise and like things I used to do before. And during that time, I was like, you know what, screw it. Let me experiment with Snapchat, but not with like my business, just like doing it as a person because I do lots of stuff. And so I started posting these little motivational quotes every morning that I would make up. When I woke up, it was the first thing I would do. I'd brush my hair, I'd go to the window and I'd take a selfie and then write something that was positive. And I did it for me for like months. And I started realizing that it was really positively affecting a bunch of people. And it just became very uplifting. And I started building a very solid family on Snapchat based around me as a person, cooking, gardening, and then also art. And then as I've evolved through what I'm doing and the healthier and happier I've become, the more art and I've been making, the more cooking I've been doing. And it just kind of all melded together in the super awesome Snapchat family that I got a bunch of different sponsorships for. Like I just worked with Feeding America, and that was really nice because that's a nice people to work with, and a good solid what's the word, cause. It's a good cause to work for. So I got to do that, and just a bunch of different opportunities have happened through that, specifically with painting. So way back in like the beginning of year one of us meeting and stuff, I really wanted to work with Mayron, like really badly. And I was like, I have to do something to get their attention as like a last ditch effort. Cause this was during the time where I was becoming desperate and upset and irritated that like, I'm putting in all this effort, but nothing's happening in the makeup world. And I'm just starting to dislike makeup. So I decided to do 2 paintings for 2 people that I knew at Mayron, which here's their little prints. But I decided to do a painting for each one of these people. It's just like a gift and to get their attention. And I ended up working with them. And that was just really validating and it felt nice. And it just was this huge release because I'm like, okay, I can just stop trying. Because if they don't want to work with me after that, I don't want to work with them. Because I've clearly proven my worth. And also I've made a personal connection with these people. And from that moment, they haven't talked to me again, and that's okay. But making these paintings refueled the other part of my art life, which is, oh yeah, I do other things. I'm good at painting and I'm good at drawing and I like those things. So I started painting, and then everybody started wanting prints, and then everybody wanted commissions, and everybody was just hitting me up from Snapchat going, paint my dog, paint my other dog. This person wants me to paint their dog. And I painted so many dogs. And dogs are the best things to paint because they're so happy and fluffy, and like fur's my thing. But then everybody wanted me to open an Etsy store. So then I figured out how to do that. And I did that for a while with a lot of success, selling these things, these extremely infuriating things to make. That just became stressful
because
after a while.
those were prints that were then they went on to pre-ordered pallets. I can't remember. Did you put the prints on the wood and then cut them?
And then cut them. Yeah.
A whole laser cutting thing going on.
It wasn't that at first, but now it is.
Okay.
It was by hand with a hot wire.
Yeah.
And that was just a miserable time. But then I was like, well, I can draw too. And like, I started having a lot of art block, but I started having the feeling of wanting to do art again after my like long hiatus. So I started scribbling, and I just kept scribbling. And then I saw pictures in the scribbles, and I'm like, what if I just draw what I see in the scribbles? And I started doing these things, which I just called, like, you know, my doodles. Like, I started with this guy where I just scribble everywhere, and then I would draw what I would see in it, and it became like cartoon doodles with like texture in the background.
Yeah.
But I started doing them like all the time, and they kept getting like more involved and more complicated or more silly. And I just really enjoyed it. And then people are like, those look like coloring book pages. You should make a coloring book. So I started selling coloring book pages on my Etsy, and that was really fun and really enjoyable because people started sending me pictures of colored pages of my art, which was just really nice and satisfying. And I just kept doing those over and over and over again. And eventually it turned into themed ones because I went to Sedona and got inspired by cactuses. And I just made like a whole page of cacti. But then my Snapchat family has been asking me for a cookbook for like ever since like day one, because I cook so much, and they're like, are you a chef? And I'm like, not really. I'm just a really good cook at home. And I've had people asking me that for years. So I decided to finally make a cookbook. And the process started off of, it was just going to be a PDF, honestly. It was just going to be a PDF of my favorite recipes. And then like, here's the recipe, and then here's a picture, and here's a recipe, then here's the picture. And I was just going to sell it for whatever as a PDF on my Etsy. So I worked nonstop on that for like a month or two solid, just writing stuff. Because when I made recipes, I never wrote them down with ingredients or instructions or amounts and instructions. It was just ingredients and a title. And I would put these in my roommate chat document on Google Docs. That's just the roommate chat recipe list of like things we liked or things we've made before, sometimes with links if it was somebody else's recipe. So I had to decode like years of this encryptic typing to create recipes. And then some of them were so vague and confusing that I was like, I kind of need to remake these and see if they actually make something that makes any sense. But after a while, I was talking with my business partner, Oz. He's my business partner for Creature Cosplay, the hoof business. And he's like, well, you could have a PDF or you could have an actual book. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I'm a professional graphic design artist. It would be so much cooler if it was an actual book. I'm like, okay, are you volunteering? He's like, yeah, give it to me. So he started going through and making it into graphic images and just messaging me like, hey, I need this. Hey, I need that. Do you like this? Do you like that? And so it turned into, I have to remake all the recipes. I have to edit it more. I have to cook everything again and take better pictures. And then it was like, oh no, we need cover art. And so then I made the food themed doodles because I thought it would be cool if the covers had the coloring book pages on it, just because I liked the art, and then maybe like color them or something. Are these ones in here? Yeah, so like the back cover, which is the most recent one, and then the front cover was done a while ago.
That's awesome. I'd eat that taco. That looks fantastic up top.
Right, delicious tacos. Or like ones that are sealed in the pages.
Yeah, that's great.
But I had like a vision to just like, why not have food doodles be your cover? And then it kind of changed the whole cookbook. I'm like, well, what if there's just my little doodle dudes through the whole book? And he's like, oh, that'd be great. So then he's like, I need more doodles. So then he let me use his iPad, and I started learning how to draw kind of on an iPad, and would like, here's a bunch of mushrooms, and here's a frumpy frog dude. I don't know, here's a fish. And then he just started asking for more and more doodles. And it was just this back and forth ridiculous process for months. Because it was just supposed to be a list of recipes. But instead it turned into a full-blown book, and then learning how that whole process works was insane. And then going over to his house and analyzing on the computer and writing down changes and going over typos and helping with the design, picking out fonts, like the whole 9 yards on this like ridiculously complicated editing program that's not an Adobe thing. I have no idea what it is. So it's like, I don't know what's going on. But lo and behold, after over 400 work hours, I have a cookbook. And it's called Noodles and Doodles.
That's
An
awesome.
eclectic cooking experience with Kim Witte. It's a hardcover. It's the first ever book I've ever published. It's officially published. It has its own IBSN thing, and it's on Amazon. It's full of my art and my story, and also good recipes, but like big pictures and adorable little doodles that are just kind of floating everywhere, along with like places to take notes so you can make changes to recipes or write down something. So it's a very eclectic little thing. So that's been going on, which just released like 7 days ago. Officially was the launch day or something. And once I had all this ready, I had to make sure that it would work and it would get published correctly. So figuring out Kindle's partnership with Amazon, they have a secret little tiny weird old website where you can self-publish books and get them printed per order. I think it's called Kindle Direct Publishing. It's so old that their little video that shows you how to do it has a computer that like the monitor is like 3 feet deep. Anyway, but figured that out, figured out what you needed to publish, uploaded the cover art and the actual PDF of the book, had to make a bunch of edits and changes because printing makes all sorts of weird things where the covers are and like the creases and stuff. Figured that out after weeks of tweaking, and then needed to write a description. I figured out how to make an author page, which is a thing that I didn't even know was a thing. Did some SEO research for what the book should be, what my description should be, got that all ready to go, and then ordered my own proof copy. And turns out we had some issues with the cover. The cover didn't quite print right. And we decided to add note pages for the second iteration, because I personally don't like writing over typed stuff. But everybody writes down stuff in cookbooks. Like you write down changes, you write down whatever. So I thought that would be a neat thing to add. So redid it, remade it, re-uploaded it, and then ordered my official copy. And for the people who are really, really, really paying attention and were stalking Amazon, they could have found the book early. And there was a few of them that are like, what are you talking about? It's already for sale on Amazon. And I'm like, yeah, but shush. Because I wanted to do a countdown to launch. Because the first ever countdown to launch I did was launching my business and YouTube way back when I started, like the very end of, well, the middle of 2016. I started in October. But I did a countdown to YouTube launch, which was like the big thing for my business at this time. I started with Facebook, I started with Instagram and Facebook. And I did a countdown to YouTube launch, which is how I started my Instagram. It was 31 days of me posting content that was makeup related, saying 28 days to YouTube launch, 27 days to YouTube launch, 26 days. And that built me an Instagram following. And then when the YouTube channel actually launched, we had way more views than a channel of no subscribers should have had. And we got like a bunch of subscribers, and it was like this cool kickoff thing. And it just went really well. And it was like a great way to start the business. And I was like, why don't I do that again for a cookbook? So it goes really well. And I was just thinking like it'd be lots of recipes and like lots of makeup, but I had an idea to do food themed makeups for the countdown. And I had no idea how to do that when I started, because mind you, I wasn't super into the whole makeup thing anymore. I've been doing a mix of it, but I've mainly been doing acrylic paintings for this last year. So this is year 2 now. I've been doing mainly acrylic paintings, like dog after dog after dog, or movie, lots of drawing, lots of acrylic things. And that's just what I've been focusing on. And like when I get a paid gig, I'll switch back to makeup, but makeup wasn't really my focus in the meantime. But then I started this whole countdown to cookbook launch and going to the farmers markets. And it just like fueled this whole magical art bug in me again. And I just looked at food stands and I was like, I could make that into a painting. And then I just sat down with my tomatoes or whatever and then painted my hand. Like the first one came to me in the garden because I pulled out carrots from the ground and I was like, those look a lot like fingers. And I was like, oh my God, what if I do a series of food makeups on my hand? And I just started. So I was like, beets and carrots, I have them in my fridge, let's go. Boom. First one was done, looked awesome. And I'm like, I have to do more of these. And I started writing down a list. And then I stopped myself because every time I write a list of characters or things to do, I get annoyed and anxious, like I'm required to do them. So I was like, you know what, never mind. Went to the farmer's market, saw just like a bunch of different fruits and berries and vegetables. And when I would see something, I would just buy it and take it home. The bacon and egg one, I think, was my second one I painted, which is the only meat related one that I've done. But that one was just really fun. And I put my hand in a pan and added like frying sounds and put like a spatula under my hand. It was just very whimsical and everybody really enjoyed that. Because that was one of the first ones I posted too. Because I'm like making them while I'm posting these. This was very like, okay, I have 7 days before this countdown starts. So I made one, got that ready. And then the rest have just been as I've been going. But I made a beet and a carrot hand, an egg and a bacon hand, a pico de gallo hand. So it's all the ingredients to make pico de gallo because I love pico de gallo. Citrus, so limes, lemons, oranges with like peels for fingers. I did a strawberry, blueberry one. I went to the farmer's market and got a buttload of pickles, pickling cucumbers, and then learned how to can and pickle. And I'm like, what if I had a pickle hand? And like, that was one that was a big, like life-changing, not really life-changing, but a big light bulb moment was, wait a minute, I can change the shapes of these things however I like. Because before that moment, I'm like, I have to find stuff that's that shape. Fingers are carrot shaped, you know, and I'm like putting things on my fingers that are the shape of my finger. Whereas with the pickles, I'm like, wait a minute, you can slice a cucumber. You can coin a cucumber, you can make a spear of a cucumber. And I'm like, oh my God, you can do that with all food. So I made the pickle hand with like spears for fingers, pickle chips for the palm area, and then full cucumbers for the forearm. And I added in like the pickling spices and the peppers and stuff. And then I'm like, oh, I can make more complicated ones that involve slices and peels and things. So I made the citrus one. And I went to baking boot camp with my sister-in-law. We've been doing that for 2 years now. We thought of some fruits, and I thought of a dragon fruit. And I'm like, oh, what if I was a dragon fruit? Like, it looks like a dragon fruit zombie. So like my arm is like scaled like a dragon with claws.
That was my favorite.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
I really like that one. With like the seeds and stuff, and then like the peeling it away, sort of like a zombie or something. And then I launched the cookbook. I can't remember how many I made, but I think I made like 9 different hand makeups or something. But a long time ago, when YouTube launched YouTube Shorts, it was really clunky and annoying, and you had to upload the video and like put a hashtag in the title that said shorts in order for it to become a shorts video. And I tried it a few times, and like the videos did well, but it was such an annoying process that I just didn't do it. And then I had one of my followers / friends from TikTok be like, hey, you should really post these on YouTube Shorts. They would do really well. And then he contacted me a couple months later. You should really post these on YouTube Shorts. They do really well. I'm like, okay, fine. So I started posting YouTube Shorts, which is the first thing on YouTube I've done. I mean, I've made like 5 or so videos since quitting YouTube on YouTube. But I started releasing the little videos I made of these hand makeups, and they blew up. So I went from like no views or like 100 views or something very minuscule to 500,000 views in 2 hours. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess people like when my hand's a vegetable. So I started uploading them daily. I started making sure I was posting at least once on YouTube daily, and almost every single video has had infinite success. And in comparison to what I was doing before, I consider 2,000 views on a video infinite success, but there's other ones that have 500,000 or 40K or something, which for me on YouTube is insane. While all this is going on, it's been refueling all of my different social media channels, because when you stop posting social media to take time for yourself, everything tanks. People get tired of you, they leave. Once you start posting again, you basically have a massive purge of followers, which is depressing and doesn't feel very good on your mental health, especially when you stop doing something for your mental health. But the whole hand video thing has refueled the growth of all of my different platforms, including TikTok and YouTube, and Instagram is actually coming back to life because I finally have access to Reels. I don't know why they took so long to instate it on my account, but I've been doing all of the different forms of short form video, and people have been really excited about it. And also, in the last 2 years, I started another company. I personally alone did not start it. I am one of the owners of it. It's called Creature Cosplay, LLC, if you want to be fancy. But it's a costuming shop where we make things for cosplay, specifically accessories and mainly shoes. We make these crazy shoes that are hoof shoes for cosplay, which is basically a modified heel platform shoe. They are a lot easier to walk in than you think. But it's basically a modified heel that has no physical heel. And they're resin animal hooves on the bottom of the shoe. This one's a cloven hoof. We got 2 different hoofs so far. We have a cloven hoof and a horse hoof. And both of them are on steel enforced heels, and they're made out of resin that has 20,000 PSI they can withstand. So like they're really durable, and they have little traction pads built into them so you don't slip and slide everywhere. And they make fun little clippity clompity sounds like hoofed animals do. This is the naked one. They come with leggings that you wear that go all the way up your leg and hide the shoe part, and it makes it look like you have an actual animal hoof. And getting into that business was very interesting and new to me, because I already know there's a market for all that stuff, because I am very much in the cosplay world and I have seen cosplayers and all of those different things. So my business partner Oz reached out to me and he was like, hey, I've seen your work. I've been following you for years. I worked with him in the past in a haunt. And he's just like, are you available to do this? This is something I would really like to do, and I think you're the artist for it. He'd be like, you mainly be the marketer and the artist on the team. He's like, I'm an artist too. I'm more manufacturing, but you'd be the designer, the sculptor, the makeup artist, the model, like the person who's pushing these things and helping me design them and helping me craft them. And I'm like, yeah, let's figure that out. So we started a company. We have a third person too, Micah, who is like the I know lots of people and can make connections guy that gets the inventory that we need to make what we make. And that's just been a huge learning process for me, because I had no experience in resin or manufacturing anything, honestly, outside of like sculpting with clay. Like I had no experience in this. So like mold making, Dremel tools, resin, anything in the fashion world in general. So we launched that. We built a character leading up to this. I designed her. Her name was Amelia. She was this adorable little deer fawn lady. And I designed the costume. I sculpted the horns, the antlers. I used a bunch of stuff in my closet to actually make the costume, because I don't know how to sew. And just showed the whole process and did another like countdown to launch thing. It wasn't as specific as the countdown to the cookbook launch, which was like 7 days till. This one was more of here's the process, and then when it was done, it was time to show the character. And that performed brilliantly. So many people were jazzed about these hooves, and that really kicked the business off really hard. And then since then, we have been designing new products and new things, because we started with the plain old black, brown, and white cloven hooves. This is one I added silver to, but just offering that with like 4 different colors of leggings. And we just listen to our followers and customer reviews, and people message us, because people in the cosplay community are really talkative and they want to tell you about their projects. So listening to people talk, we just started designing new things and designing leggings on programs that like you make the design, but they ship it to the people, they print it and ship it, like whatever those are called. You can do it for t-shirts too. So you can like interchange leggings with the shoes. And then working on horse hooves, because everybody's been asking for those. And yeah, it's been a whirlwind of stuff. But while I have started doing these hand makeups and cookbook things, because I've been posting consistently and doing something I'm actually excited about and that's unique, I'm not copying something, I'm just making new stuff, everything's been doing better. So every time I post something, it just does better. And my friend Stavros, he's a fang smith from Chaos Custom Fangs. We've been buddies / work partners since like day one of Witte Artistry. But he made me these gorgeous full set of fangs, like my whole mouth of like just sharp, amazing. I filmed a video on TikTok. It went viral-ish, pretty viral for my current standing on there. So it's like 200,000 views. And that just started fueling the whole, okay, let's get more into spooky stuff, start transitioning into spooky stuff with the hand makeups. And I started filming more hoof videos. And then those started blowing up. And then I had a video go mega viral. It's at 6 million views right now. And that's just completely blown up our entire Etsy inbox. Like, nonstop work on our end right now, which is amazing. I love it. It's great. And it's been fueling all my other videos, and I've been getting more and more work coming in about random things. I had my first ever sponsored food video, which was a dream of mine since day one, because all the OGs remember on my YouTube, I would eat in character. And that was like my weird, stupid thing that I would do because I thought it was funny. And I'm like, someday someone's going to sponsor me with food and it's going to be a thing. And then I just stopped doing YouTube and stopped eating things. And then all of a sudden I'm back into the food world with makeup again. And then it's like, here you go. Here's a sponsored pasta video. Get paid to make pasta. And I'm like, okay, this is a dream come true. So that happened recently. And once I finished the last hand video, which was the berries one, which was like the day of launch, I'm like, okay, time to do spooky stuff. So I revamped an old character, Hex, that I made up years ago, and I've redone like 3 or 4 times. Except this time I'm like, oh my God, my demonic Halloween character can have demon hooves. So I put on my demon hooves, and it's just been blowing up and feeding everything. And I just got asked to go on a cooking television show in Romania. And like, it's not going to be happening this season because it was a little too late notice for me. But supposedly I will be on the next season. I don't know when, but like, it's like, whoa, wait, I get to compete.
Wait, is that a Zoom thing or they're flying you?
Flying me.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know if it'll happen or not. But the fact that they were like, we want you here in like 2 weeks. Can you do this? And I'm like, no. Yeah. But might happen next year, and I'll be competing, making food on a cooking show, but I'll be in makeup. And I'm like, that's so cool. So there's like just all this stuff that's been falling into place, and I'm hitting all these like random milestones and checking dreams off of my list. Like a huge one for me is I've always wanted to be a published author. It was just one of those things because like I've already made a book and I've already sold the book, but it was just a PDF. Like it still was an accomplishment, but like it wasn't actually published. Whereas this one is officially published and all cool and real, and you can hold it, which is super neat. And yeah, there's been a lot, man.
Yeah, you've been busy. So a few questions for you. I know when you started the YouTube channel years ago, and you said what that was 2016.
Yep.
And so we met in 2020, and it was kind of toward the end of 2020. I mean, we had COVID hit right at the beginning of 2020, and it was somewhere at the end there, I think that you were starting to come to the end of YouTube, at least in that iteration, right? And for anybody listening, I think you've heard that Kim is a grinder. Like Kim isn't afraid to work and likes to create. And sometimes when you're grinding, you don't have perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
On what's going on around you. And it can, I mean, you need perspective for a lot of reasons, right? Not the least of which is your health and your relationships and just kind of life in general. And there's only so much anybody can do or take. And I think sometimes what happens is we're so focused on doing that we might lose sight of a goal, right? Or we might not even have a goal anymore. And then it's time to go, wait, what am I doing? I almost think of like Forrest Gump a little bit when he's running, and then he comes to the end of it. Right? Yeah, it comes to the end of it because he's done. And it seemed like at that time you weren't reaping whatever it is you were hoping to get out of all the activity, right? Because it's one thing to be busy, and it's another thing to be productive, right? And and I'm not saying you were confusing the two, but you were working towards something, and then it wasn't what you wanted, and so you decided to pull back and make a pivot, and that can be a hard thing to do. So I don't know, how did, like, we had unpacked some of that stuff over the years, but how did that, like, where did that leave you, like, in the midst of it?
It was devastating, honestly. Because YouTube I had viewed as the center of my business and my kingdom of online presence for some reason. And I think that was because all of my time was going into it, because I wanted to make tutorials and I wanted people to learn and be entertained. And out of everything that I do, it would be like, okay, the day that I'm filming is maybe like, you know, a 15-hour day, and then the art's done. But then for the next week and a half, I'm spending 9 to 10 hours a day editing a tutorial and then optimizing it and making edited thumbnails for it and doing all this research to, like, it was this never-ending process of getting it ready to post for nobody to see it. And when I started, that was fine, and I didn't mind because I was practicing, I was teaching, I was doing my own thing, and I was posting on other platforms, and like I was just doing my thing. I liked doing it. But as it kept going along, I became more and more obsessive and more meticulous about it. Because when I started my business, I actually had a business partner, and I was the artist and the creative, and they were the photographer and the videographer. And then they left, and then I had to learn how to do it all on my own. And I didn't have much support around the whole subject. So it became an obsessive, I have to do this exceptionally so people stop making me feel bad about doing it kind of thing. I just really wanted to succeed. So I became like really obsessed with working on this. And when I got out of that environment and started doing or having more support, I guess, I started recognizing that this was really unhealthy and I wasn't treating myself the way I normally would, like exercising or doing other parts of life. Like I always make time for friends and people that I love. Always have, always will. But I really struggle with taking care of myself, getting enough sleep, doing other art forms. So when I finally came to this moment of like, you need to stop, it's ridiculous. And like, you're not making money off of it. Cause like when I started, businesses are negative income when you start. They're just negative income. As you proceed, their income increases. So like now I'm making money, but not off the thing I'm investing 90% of my time in. Like it didn't make any sense to continue doing it, but it felt like I was a failure if I stopped, and then I would be quitting and I'd be giving up, and I would be like showing all those naysayers that they were right was the thing, which is why I held on so obsessively for so long until I realized that I just didn't care, and I was happy with what I've been doing, and I'm clearly successful at what I'm doing, and I'm to a painting skill level that even a person that doesn't like me or doesn't care about what I'm doing can look at it and objectively be like, yeah, she's good at painting. So once I came to that conclusion, I didn't feel bad anymore about not doing YouTube.
It's hard, isn't it, when you kind of come. I think a lot of artists do this. I could be wrong, and I might be wrong what I'm suggesting right now. So you tell me if this jives with you or not. But it's hard when you're a creative person, and when you're really invested in it, it seems like your identity gets entangled with the work that you do. And that's a lie. And it's a dangerous lie, right? Because you start the thing that you're creating starts to take you over a bit, and it kind of owns you, and it can go bad. And you gotta get away from that for whatever reason, whether it's kind of keeping up with the Joneses or it's pleasing people that you want to impress, or whatever it is, you kind of need to kick away from that. What do you think of that?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate for the most part. I wasn't doing it for like looks or admiration or any like anything of that nature. It was more of, this was something I really wanted to do. I loved it and I was really invested in it. And then it became like a very, very strict schedule that started giving me massive amounts of depression and anxiety, because I literally posted a video every single Saturday for 7 years.
Yeah.
Like, it's enough to make you go crazy. And I was cool with it for about the first 5, but the last 2, it was a struggle.
And you're saying that that was about 30 hours worth of work per video.
Yeah.
Between the 15-day shoot and then about 10 hours of post. 10 to 15 hours.
I was so obsessive over it. And like,
Yeah.
I hadn't been the editor. I wasn't the editor. So I had to teach myself how to do it
Right.
from scratch. So something that would have taken them 2 hours took me 40. So it was just this, I had to learn it and I wasn't good at it. And I had to just figure out how to do it. And it just made the work so much longer and harder.
Yeah.
Until I got good.
Yeah. So then you pushed away from the table. That was painful. And you did some self-reflection, you took time for yourself, and then it turned into more work. And I mean in a good way. It turned into creative work. Yeah. And then that started to find a way into income. It started to turn into income, just around, working the cookbook out, which I know that's brand new and you're still kind of waiting to hear back on that. But then the creature cosplay, that's taken off, and you have partners with that. And having partners is a bit of a different creature than just running your own show, right? Or telling people what to do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big difference, but it's also a lot less stress.
Right.
Because I'm not the main owner. I'm a part owner, but I have a smaller percentage. So it's like I make less of the decisions, which at first I thought would be frustrating and annoying, but it's not, because I have my own ship to sail, and then it's like, okay, I just give some supplies to this other ship, but I don't have to captain 2 different vessels.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I really appreciate about you and how you're built is that you keep going and you keep doing things and you keep trying things. And I just released a video this morning with the guy Mark Enright, and if you listen to his story, he just keeps talking about all the things he tried and did, and this led to this, and this led to this, and this led to this. And I see it with you, and I see it with most creatives who I would say are have some measure of success. And I guess the question is twofold. What leads you to do that? And why do you think that leads to success for artists?
What led me to try stuff?
Yeah. Well, some people would just go, I'm done.
Oh yeah,
right,
just
right,
yeah.
Right. Or I know people who go, I'm just going to make this a hobby now. And that well, I have different issues around why I wouldn't do that. So anyway, I'll leave you to answer.
A big part of it was when I wasn't making anything, I was listening to a lot of Gary Vee, which has been one of my huge business inspiring people. But also he's just a good person that says important things sometimes that I'm just like, oh, I resonate with that really hard. And one thing he talked about one time was how you have to do all your other stuff, or how did he say it? You have to do all of the things that you like, or you risk cancerizing the one that you love. And I was like, oh, I already did that. Oh. So I just started doing other stuff, and like I cook all the time. I've always been cooking in the background, and that's always something.
I know when we would talk or visit, it'd be like, okay, I'm cooking this for dinner. I'm going to be, and you know, you'd kind of go through the details of it, or you'd share what you ate the day before, and it was always some gourmet thing. And I always thought your roommates were like, do they know what they have there? That's pretty amazing that they're getting the chef taking care of them.
Yeah, so like that's always something that's brought me joy, and I've always been doing that because it's an unavoidable task. You have to eat, so might as well eat yummy things. And then my aunt died, and that was awful and terrible. And she was one of the people that had the most influence in my life, specifically around food. Like our biggest connection was recipes, and we would type every day. We would talk every single day about what we were cooking. And she did everything in the kitchen and the garden. I always thought it was the coolest thing. She would can, she would make jelly. She knew how to dehydrate, how to smoke things, grill things, make soups, and grow an entire garden to feed that, while also knowing how to dehydrate stuff and do an entire pantry of all these things. So when she passed, I went through all of her recipes and I made a cookbook of all of her favorite recipes, and I gave them to each household of the family. And that was really satisfying. And I was like, I should make a cookbook of my things. And that's kind of what planted the little seed there. But as I've gone along, I have always wanted to do different things. Like I've always wanted to, which is still a goal I'm working towards. I've always wanted to do cake decorating. Not like, you know, here's your little florets on your circular cake, but like, no, the cake is a dragon, like it's an actual dragon. But I realized I didn't know how to bake, and you can't make a cake if you don't know how to bake. So I started baking boot camp with my sister-in-law because she's always wanted to learn how to bake, and I love watching the Great British Baking Show. And I'm like, you know what? I feel like I could learn how to do this, even though I burn my brownies that are from a box. And we just started studying it and then trying and practicing, and it was really fun. And that also fueled my Snapchat following, because I would show the baking boot camps every other week, and people were really jazzed about that. But I have always wanted to have a garden, and this year we got approved for a community garden because we moved here literally like 7 or 10 days before the pandemic hit. You couldn't do anything with anyone. But year 2, 2022, you can actually be around people. So we've applied to a bunch of different community gardens, and we got accepted to one. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to learn how to garden things. And that was kind of a healing thing about my aunt, is I wanted to make a garden for her. So I figured out how to garden and grow all these awesome plants. And I'm like, you know what? I could probably learn how to can too. And I had practiced canning before she passed, and we were talking about it, and I made a couple of her recipes and canned them, and she thought that was the coolest thing. And then I'm like, well, I have to be prepared for garden season to can, which yay, I did, because now it's canning season. And that just kind of spurred out into like, well, I need to know how to make pickles, and I guess I need to know how to make drawings into vectors to make coloring book pages. And because like everybody's children online are asking me to color my art, like, okay, I guess I have to learn that. Or like cosplay stuff, like, well, I'm not going to pass up on this opportunity. He asked me to do this thing for creature cosplay, and I would love to do it. I guess I just have to learn. And then like jumping into it. And then like as my mental health has gotten better and my confidence grows, things just become less scary. Like it's just less scary. Like I was only doing body paint because that was the only thing I thought I was capable of. And I'm like, I'm really good at body painting. I'll just body paint a lot and get like the best at body painting. And then once I'm like a masterful body painter, then I'll do prosthetics. And then I like most recently, I got hired to do a terror dog from Ghostbusters in like a human form. Just some awesome random patron that really wanted to see that happen. And I was terrified to do it because I'm like, I'm gonna have to use prosthetics and a bald cap. There's no way around it. Like there's nothing I can do. This character is chunky and has big eyebrows. Like it has to happen. And I waited a bit, and then I realized, I'm like, I know exactly how to do this. Like it'll be fine. And I sat down and I did it in like under 4 hours, and I did it flawlessly. There's no
Did you
seam.
post it yet? Have I seen it? No, it's coming.
No, unless if you follow me on TikTok.
Okay.
It's not on anything
Yeah.
because they paid me to do it, and they paid me to do it privately. I sent them the videos and the pictures, and like, oh my God, that's so cool. And they're like, just so you know, you have permission to post it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, cool. And I posted the videos on some of the videos on TikTok, but I did that back in like August or something. Yeah. And I'm saving it for spooky season. Also, I haven't edited anything, and I don't know if I'll edit anything, but the fact that I just sat down and I just magically did it, and I was like, wow, that was really easy. And it was just this big like sigh of relief moment, because bald caps have been my nemesis from like day one. I've only done like 6 of them. Like I've literally only done 6 of them, and like everybody's like, bald caps are so easy. It's the most basic thing for
I'm not a big
artists
fan of them either. They're
a freaking nightmare, and they're really uncomfortable. And when I'm sitting there doing a makeup for like 15 hours, you get sweaty and itchy, and you just want to get out of it, and then you get angry. But this was so fast. I was like, wow, I've been thinking about this process and exactly how to do it for years. Poof, it just magically happened.
Well, and that doesn't happen without everything you did before it, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
all the time, every video you edited, every drawing you made, everything adds up. Would you agree?
Oh, for sure. Previous knowledge and watching hundreds of thousands of people apply bald caps over and over and over again. Well, also, I've taught all of this stuff verbally, and I've instructed. Oh, I've been doing a bunch of different speaking gigs too, online and then in person for the last 2 years too, which has been cool.
Yeah. Talking
about mental health and running a business and social media, but also SFX makeup. And bald caps are just always a thing that comes up. So yeah, it definitely all builds on top of each other. And then there's like 2 other really big things that I've been working on / exploring is with my whole acrylic painting thing. I went to an art fair in the summer, and I'm like, why aren't I doing this? I could do this. I met a really cool artist named Jay, who was extremely friendly and very generous with his time. And he basically told me how to do an art fair from like point A to point B with all the details in between. I took notes while I was talking to him, and I decided that I need to do art fairs. So that's a big task that's going to be happening next summer, but I have to make art and things and prep. Sure. So I've been going to a bunch of art fairs since then, basically taking notes on displays and doing research on like bags and backings and prints and all of that stuff. And I'm going to be having a show in Whitewater, the place I graduated from. They hit me up for a show February to March. And so that's going to be like a preliminary test run, because I don't have to have a tent and be outside for that one, but I have to have a body of work that's framed and hangable.
It'll be inside then.
Yeah.
Let us know the dates, by the way. Janine and I might pop up for that. That'd be cool.
Okay. Yeah. It's like February 2nd to March 26th. It's written on my whiteboard.
Yeah.
So starting to go towards that, because I did a painting of Batman Who Laughs in an 8x10, and I had a lot of interest of people being like, I want that as a print. I'm like, are you sure? Because so many people are like, I want to buy that, and then they never do. But this person's like, I will give you this amount of money to send me this signed print. And I'm like, okay. So I did that. And then now I have a framed one downstairs. There's a frame sale at Michael's that was 50% off every other frame. And then I had like 5,000 coupons in my inbox because I am on their email list. So I got a great deal on those. And I was like, what if I start framing and showing my food makeups? That's like the whole work body of series that all goes together. And out of all the things, I think those would be things that people would put on their wall.
Yeah.
Is trippy illusions of food. And it's like less eerie than a person you don't know staring into your soul. But I've just like, so I'm starting to work towards that. I've been doing all the research. I just made a new friend at an art fair literally 2 days ago. So that's the thing. Working on that. But then the other thing that I've also been working on simultaneously with the cookbook and the Etsy store and everything else is I'm starting a school. Fireworks. I have always wanted to have a makeup school. That was what I viewed YouTube as. But it wasn't feasible and it became depressing. What you actually need are people who actually want to learn makeup, which is not people on YouTube. There are people, I'm just too small for them to find me. Whereas with a school, I can have students that specifically want to learn how to do makeup. So you have a very small niche focus group of people, and you can do super in-depth tutorials. You can talk way longer. You can actually demonstrate a skill and teach it without worrying about SEO, thumbnail images, and all the extra gobbledygook that went into YouTube. And also I can make it a feast instead of just a snack. Whereas YouTube, like you have to edit everything to be entertaining mainly instead of educational. Like obviously these videos aren't boring, but like a person that actually wants to learn something has a way larger attention span for something than someone who doesn't.
Right.
So I've started making a makeup course with a company called Retrieve, which we're just now in the works of figuring out when it's actually launching, because I've been doing hella work on it. Like there's, I think about 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half of content currently. And I'm talking about the ins and outs of makeup and the different genres of makeup and all of that stuff, which came from a presentation I actually gave to a high school, which was really cool. And I just kind of built on that. Bald cap application, removal, skincare, just like all the stuff that goes into special effects makeup and cosplay, and just getting to build on that. So like I'm really excited. I don't know when that's coming out or how I'm going to count down to launching that one, or if there's going to be like a soft launch and a hard launch. I don't know. But it's also been pushing me outside of my comfort zone to do things, because now I'm like, oh, I can't just talk about how you apply a bald cap, because now you're in my class. I have to demonstrate it. So guess I got to do that. And things with prosthetics, it's like, oh, I actually have to do that now. I can't just, tell the audience about it with pictures of somebody else's Instagram, So that's been helping the growth of my skill set as well. And like, that's the next big project that ideally would have been great to release October 1st, but like the timelines of the cookbook and everything just didn't line up. So I'm thinking maybe like a few days into the new year, like start off your new year with like a new skill, or like follow your dreams or something along those lines. But it's been a lot, but it's been really fun. And editing that doesn't make me angry. It's like, ooh, I got to make this thing that people are going to enjoy on my time. And it just exists forever in a place that will make me passive income.
Yeah, there's a dime coming in from it. That's good. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Over the last 2 years, you've been on quite a journey, and you've been very productive, like crazy productive. What would your parting words of wisdom be to anyone watching this episode?
That's a good question. Put your mental health and physical health first, and then when you're in a place of peace and health and balance, you'll find that everything else comes way easier, and the opportunities will just keep coming as you just start enjoying life and hitting different avenues of your interest.
That's good. That's good. Anything else you want to share?
Buy my cookbook.
Where can people get your cookbook?
Yeah, so if you go on Amazon and you type in Noodles and Doodles Cookbook or Kim Witte Cookbook, it'll be the first one that comes up. I don't know the exact link because it's some like weird Amazon abbreviation, but that's the easiest way to do it. It'll come right up. And
Okay.
it looks like this. Ta-da!
Awesome. And then where can people find you?
I'm Witte Artistry on everything. WITTE Artistry on everything. I have my own website. It has all of my socials and where to get the cookbook on like a link tree. So that's the best way to find me.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks, my friend. Thanks for visiting again and for sharing all of that.
Of course. Thanks for having me back on your show. Congrats on 100+ episodes.
Cheers. Thanks, Kim.
Yeah.
Hey, Kim, thanks, my friend, for being my guest once again. I love how resilient Kim is. I love how positive she is and how she keeps moving forward. Something that I spoke about early on in episodes of the Breakthrough Creative was how when you don't know what to do, maybe you just take some action, because action brings clarity. Action brings clarity. Do stuff. Do stuff to figure out what it is either that you want to do, or maybe try things and go, I really don't want to do this, or this isn't working. And, you know, that's exactly what Kim did when YouTube wasn't working like she had hoped it would, and she was pouring so much time into it. She took note of how she was feeling, that she was dealing with some anxiety and depression, and she pivoted into other things. And those other things led to collaborating on costumes and props and painting for clients, and then even, you know, launching this makeup course, this online makeup course that she just launched. Pretty cool stuff, and it's things that provide a good example to us of when things are tough, when we're experiencing maybe not quite the most positive things in our lives, or the most positive direction for our business or our craft, and we need to, you know, keep moving forward, because we really can't afford just to go hide under the covers somewhere, right? We gotta right the ship and take action, and action brings clarity, and that's exactly what Kim did. So I encourage you to check out Kim on her social media and everywhere. Check out her makeup course, buy her cookbook, and have fun trying out some of her recipes, and let me know what you think of them, and let her know what you think of them too, okay? All right, that's it for this week on the Breakthrough Creative. I hope that you get busy about the business of doing whatever it is that next thing you need to do. Maybe you're supposed to write a cookbook. Maybe you're supposed to start some kind of online course. Maybe you're going to get into body painting. I don't know exactly what it is you're supposed to do, but get busy doing that next thing, because that's going to get you one step closer to success in your creative career and your business. All right? On behalf of the Breakthrough Creative, I am John McDavitt. We'll see you soon.